Namaste. Welcome to the science class. Today we'll be learning about our environment. What do we see around us? We see different types of plants, different types of animals which are different in shapes and sizes. Not only that, we also see the different types of non-living things also. Yes? So, here both the living organisms and the non-living organisms are present in our environment. They make up the components of environment. All the living organisms include plants, animals, and even microscopic organisms. So, here the plants are the organisms which help the animals in their survival. In the same way, plants are also dependent on the animals. Other than that, these plants and animals are also dependent on the microorganisms also. So what are these microorganisms? These microorganisms are the organisms which are very tiny and are not visible through the naked eye. So such type of organisms are called as microorganisms. So all these three categories of organisms come under the living organisms. Now, these living organisms are dependent on the non-living things. Children, can we live without air? Air is a non-living thing. Yes? Can you just imagine life without water? Water is a non-living thing. Difference in temperatures also affect our living status. Other than that, light is also very much essential for us. So, and even soil is also very essential. Without soil, the plants cannot grow, and we are dependent on plants. So here, when we see in an environment, there are many different components which are coming under either the category of living or the non-living. So basically, the components of environment can be divided into two categories, that is biotic and abiotic. So what is biotic? Bios itself means living. Bios itself means living. So all the living organisms are included as biotic components of environment. Okay. So in this we will be having the plants, the animals, and also different types of microorganisms. And coming to the next category, that is abiotic. A means no. Okay. Biotic. Bios means life. No life means all the non-living organisms or the non-living things are actually included as the abiotic components of the environment. So here we have water, temperature, light, air, and soil. Other than this, in this chapter, children, we will be learning about how the biotic factors are dependent on the abiotic factors. How these abiotic factors are utilized by the living organisms for their survival, and how the different things actually circulate inside the environment. So we will be learning about each and everything in detail in this video. Now, let us come to the biotic factors. First, we will be learning about the plants. So here, the plants, the green plants are called as the producers. Producers means they actually make their own food. That is why they are called as producers. So, the green plants actually make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. We have been learning this process in our lower classes also. So here, as the green plants can prepare their own food, they are also called as autotrophs. Auto means self. Auto means self. And trophs means nutrition or food. As green plants can prepare their own food by themselves. Okay. So that is why the green plants are called as autotrophs. Now, how do they make their own food? By the process called as photosynthesis. Now see here children, the word photo. Photo means it is light. Photo means it is light. Okay. Synthesis. Synthesis is to make or to prepare. To make or to prepare. So, these green plants, they utilize the light energy to make their own food. That is why this process is called as photosynthesis. Now, here I just have shown you the pictorial representation of this whole process. By learning this diagram, children, you can tell what is photosynthesis. Now, in this you can see a plant, yes, okay, and you can also see sun, which is actually providing light energy to the plant. Now, this is a green plant in which the green color is due to the presence of a special pigment. Pigment means it is nothing but a coloring agent. Okay. So, that pigment is called as chlorophyll. So, this is present mostly in the leaves and to some part even in the stem also. So, this chlorophyll is the green pigment which is responsible for the green color of the plants. Now, here this green plants, they take light from the sun, okay, they absorb light energy from the sun, and from the air they take carbon dioxide. What is the symbol of carbon dioxide? Capital C, capital O and suffix as 2. Yes, okay, so it is carbon dioxide from the air. So, they take carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil, right? So, they take water from the soil. So, this water is absorbed from the soil by the roots of the plant and is transported to the leaves. Okay. So, here light is there, carbon dioxide is taken and then water is also brought to the leaves. So, in leaves, as we know already, this green pigment, that is nothing but chlorophyll, is already present. So, here what is happening? The carbon dioxide and water are taken by the green plants in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Food is prepared. Okay, the food here is prepared in the form of carbohydrates. Okay, more particularly it is glucose. Okay, right? So the food is prepared in the form of carbohydrates. So by looking at this particular diagram, we can say the definition of photosynthesis. The green plants prepare their food by utilizing carbon dioxide from air, water from soil, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, and prepare their food in the form of carbohydrates. And other than this, when the food is prepared in the form of carbohydrates, oxygen and water are also released into the air. It is this oxygen which the animals take in during respiration. So this is how we are actually dependent on plants. So this is a process of photosynthesis. Now, what happens when there is excess production of these carbohydrates? These carbohydrates are stored in the form of starch. So, all the fruits and vegetables which we get, either it is in the form of glucose or the excess food is stored in the form of starch. So, this is about the process of photosynthesis. The utilization of the light energy to convert the carbon dioxide into the carbohydrates is what is called as photosynthesis. As plants can prepare their own food, they are called as autotrophs. And they are the only organisms wherein they can prepare their own food. That is why they are also called as producers. Now, from these green plants only, we get the food. In turn, from food we get energy, and we utilize this energy to do different metabolic activities. So ultimately, from where the energy to the plant is coming? It is from the sun. So here one very important thing is, sun is the ultimate source of energy. If sunlight is not there, plants also cannot prepare their own food. Yes? Okay. And ultimately that food cannot be taken up by the other organisms. So here the plants play a very important role in utilizing the light energy and passing this food to the next, keeping the food available to the next type of organisms.
So now we can represent this process of photosynthesis in the form of an equation. So basically here the process of photosynthesis, it involves the taking in of carbon dioxide. So it is carbon dioxide plus what else the plant is taking? It is water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So food is actually prepared in the form of glucose and oxygen. So this is the equation of photosynthesis. At least by seeing this equation, we can easily define what is photosynthesis. So plants, the green plants take in carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. They prepare their own food in the form of glucose, or rather you can also write it as carbohydrates, and release oxygen, right? So this is about the photosynthesis. Now let us know more about one more component of living organisms, that is nothing but animals. So how these different categories of animals are present and how we are actually dependent on these green plants, we will see. Now that we have learnt about how plants prepare their own food, now we will learn about one more biotic component, that is nothing but animals. These animals cannot prepare their own food, but they directly or indirectly depend on the green plants for food. So that is the reason why the animals are called as consumers. Consumers are the organisms which eat. Okay. So they cannot prepare their own food. They are not producers like green plants. So all the animals, let it be the tiny organisms or the large-sized organisms, whatever it is, the different types of animals directly or indirectly, they depend on the plants. Now again, depending on this criteria, the animals can be divided into different categories. These are herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. These herbivores are the organisms which directly feed on the plants. They eat only plant material. So here you can give the example like cow, buffalo, goat, etc. So all these organisms, they feed only on the plants. So they are called as herbivores. Okay. Now The next category is carnivores. So these carnivores are nothing but the flesh-eating animals. The animals which depend on other animals for food. They are called as carnivores. They do not take plant materials as food. Now, there is one more category of animals, that is omnivores. Omni means all. They eat both plants and animals. So these are the category of organisms or animals which are dependent on both the producers and also the consumers. Now here children, I have also written it as the primary consumer, secondary consumer and so on. Now we know that animals depend on plants. So here I'll just give you one small example, wherein for example this is a plant, okay, right? So this plant is actually eaten by what we say, you can go with rat, okay. This rat, it eats this particular plant, okay, the grains of the plant and so on, okay. And this rat is actually eaten up by a snake. Okay, it is eaten up by a snake. And this snake is again eaten up by a bird or an eagle. Okay. Now here you see, you have this rat which is eating the grains of the plant. That means it is actually directly depending on this particular plant. So plant here, it is a producer. Yes. Okay. So it produces the food in the form of grains, and those grains are eaten up by the rat. So here the rat comes as the primary consumer. So here the rat is a primary consumer. Now on this rat, who is dependent actually? This snake. So this snake is the secondary consumer, and the snake is eaten by the bird. The bird is called as a tertiary consumer. So here you see, mostly the herbivores come under the category of primary consumers. Okay, they feed on the plant materials. Okay, next the secondary consumers. It is the mostly the carnivores which come under this secondary consumers. That is, they feed on these herbivores for food. And then the tertiary consumers and quaternary consumers. Okay, so this is how one organism is dependent on each other. Now you see here children, if for example I have cut off all the plants, okay, then the mice cannot survive. Yes, okay. And if all the mice are dead, then what will happen? The snake will not have food and it cannot survive. Then all the snakes will be dead and the bird cannot survive. So here you see the bird, although it is not eating the plant material in this example directly, then also it is indirectly dependent on the plants for its food. Understood? Here the rat is directly dependent, the snake and the bird are indirectly dependent on the plants. So somehow or the other, the animals who are called as the consumers are directly or indirectly dependent on the plants for food. Yes. Now coming to the other category of biotic components of environment. That is nothing but the microorganisms. These microorganisms, you see here the word micro. Micro means very tiny, very small. Understood? Okay. Microorganisms. The organisms are very, very tiny. They are so tiny that we cannot see by our naked eye. They can be seen only by a special instrument which is called as the microscope. Okay, by using microscope, we can see these organisms. Now, these microorganisms, most of them, they cause diseases in us. Not only in us, in different plants and animals also. But these microorganisms are somehow, they are also helpful for us in the process of decomposition. What is this decomposition? Before learning that process, we will know about the organisms which are called as decomposers. So, these decomposers comprise of some bacteria and fungi. They actually feed on the dead and decaying plant and animal matter. Here, if the dead organisms are not decomposed, means what? The organisms contain some important minerals present inside them. So, these minerals have to be brought back into the soil. That is the process of decomposition. So, here these decomposers help the minerals which have got locked up in this living system to bring back into the abiotic factors into the soil. So, here the minerals are brought back into the soil. Not only that, the decomposers play a very important role in cleaning the environment. They also clean the environment. Just imagine, children, if these decomposers are not there, okay, then probably our earth might have been covered with all these dead organisms. Can we bear such situation? It is quite difficult to imagine itself. Yes? Okay. So, decomposers actually are very much helpful in bringing back the minerals back into the environment, and also they clean up the environment. There are some more organisms which help in this particular process. They are nothing but the scavengers. Scavengers are a typical type of organisms which feed on dead organisms only. Yes? Okay. One best example for this is vultures. Okay. So, vulture is a very huge bird which feeds on dead organisms only. Okay. Other than that, there are some other organisms which eat the dead organisms like jackals, kites, hyenas, etc. All these type of organisms help in bringing back the minerals into the environment. Now, we will be learning about the two categories of materials, that is biodegradable materials and non-biodegradable materials. Now, here the word biodegradable means they can be easily decomposed by the living organisms. So, here that means they can be easily decomposed by the microbes or the microorganisms. So, here what actually happens? For example, children, you take a banana peel and dig a small pit and put the banana peel in that and cover it up with soil. After 2 or 3 months, when you dig it up in the same place, you don't find the banana peel over there. Rather, you find a different category of soil which can hold more amount of moisture. Yes, so that means that what actually happened to banana peel? Due to the action of microorganisms, the process of decomposition has taken place and the minerals, the material which is present inside the banana peel has got brought back into the soil. Yes, so that is what is called as decomposition. Yes, so all the biodegradable materials can be easily decomposed by the microorganisms. Whereas in controversy, the non-biodegradable substances, they cannot be easily decomposed by microorganisms. Here, for example, you take a plastic cover and dig up a small pit and put this plastic cover in that pit and cover it up with the soil. Now, in this case, after 2 months, if you just go there and dig it up in the same place, you find the plastic paper there itself unchanged. Yes, this plastic paper or the cover cannot be decomposed easily by the microorganisms. Yes, So such type of substances are actually called as the non-biodegradable substances. Now, here the biodegradable substances, as the minerals present in those substances are brought back into the soil, very easily it gets mixed up with the soil. That is why it doesn't cause any harm to our environment. The biodegradable substances do not cause any harm to our environment. But whereas the non-biodegradable substances do not change much. They are as it is. So, they cause harm to our environment. A very simple example. For example, if we are throwing away all the plastic covers here and there, okay, what will happen to them? They will either get flown away by the air or the water, and ultimately they get locked up in the drains. So, the drains get choked up over there and the whole drainage system gets ruined. Yes. So, this is how and that is also one of the cause of maybe a cause of us being attacked by the diseases also. So here the non-biodegradable substances, they harm our environment. Yes, they pollute our environment. Okay. So the best examples for biodegradable substances are the vegetable peels, paper, cloth, wood, etc. Anything which is bought from the plants and animals are usually biodegradable. Okay. But whereas the non-biodegradable substances are plastic, glass, metal cans, aluminium foil, etc. All these come under the non-biodegradable category. Now we have been seeing that please reduce the use of plastic or say no to plastic, conserve our environment, you have to save our earth and all these things. Yes, it is all because of this non-biodegradable substances, right? So we should try to minimize the use of plastic, best to avoid the use of plastic. If possible, whatever things which we have, the plastic things which we have, we can try to reuse them. Yes, so here comes the 3 R's over there. Yes, first it is reduce, reuse or recycle. Yes, okay. So reduce the use of plastic. If possible, you can reuse. For example, many glass jars will be there. Instead of throwing them, we can use for some other purposes. Yes, so we can reuse them, or sometimes the plastic can be heated up and brought into some other shape and can be used as some other article. That is what is called as recycling. So this is one of the way where we can actually conserve our environment. Yes. Now, one best way is, that is nothing but separation and segregation of the waste. At home level itself or at the school level itself, we can do it very easily. We can separate these biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances into 2 separate bins, wherein their disposal becomes very easy. Now here you see the twin bin system. In our school also we have the green bins and also the blue bins. In green bins goes the biodegradable substances and in the blue bins goes the non-biodegradable substances. Now, here the biodegradable substances, mostly the kitchen waste or whatever it is, the vegetable peels, paper, wood, all these biodegradable substances, they can be put in a pit and then they can be covered up by the soil and slowly it is left like that, and slowly the microorganisms act on this particular biodegradable substances. It turns into a compost. We can actually fasten this reaction by adding red worms or the earthworms. This is what is called as the vermicomposting. So by using these red worms or earthworms, we can convert the biodegradable waste into an useful substance which is actually called as a compost simply, or even the vermicompost. Now this vermicompost is a very good and excellent organic fertilizer. Yes, Okay, and it acts as a conditioner for the soil. If we grow crops in such type of soils, probably we will be getting more yield. So that is how nowadays we are going for this vermicomposting. And in this way, our segregation of the waste is also done, and even we are getting benefit from this vermicompost by having a good yield of crops. So this is about the biotic factors and how they are interdependent among themselves. In the next video, we will be learning about the abiotic factors. Thank you.